Hello everyone, welcome back to a slow Saturday. Although today wasn't. I mean, it's still relatively slow, I'm not sure. We didn't have too much movement today. Starting off 24 hours ago, around the exact same price, I think 3 days in a row, I've had Bitcoin at 83,000 based off of the thumbnails that I've been making. But yeah, not much has been happening here, right? We did reach previous couple days, a high of around 84,500 approximately, whereas where I have my resistance levels drawn. Since then, we have been kind of decaying the price just a little bit, right? We did have a little slump a little earlier this morning, but that has kind of recovered its way, corrected its way back up. It seems like we're about to get a golden cross over here, right? Where the faster exponential moving average will cross the slower one, right? That would give you your golden cross. Great. Well, you get the point. Um, will that happen though? If it does, the breakout is going to be great. And I don't think it will though. Or maybe it might. It might take a while though. It's not going to happen immediately. Because we're going to need some fundamentals to first break out of this before we reach our next resistance. But I mean, if it does commit a breakout over here, we can reach 84,500 again without a problem. But if not, I think would be the most likely scenario is we'll continue to bounce a little bit lower from this line. It's a very, very short downtrend that we have just formed. So, I wouldn't rely on it too much. And I mean, that could also mean the breakout isn't as significant. So I don't think we're going to be reaching levels like 85,000 just yet. So that's what we have in terms of this little analysis. Lowest points is 82,600. Lowest point of today, though, 82,300. So we're roughly around this range that we have been in the past right over here. Not much has changed. Yeah, 83,400 the price of Bitcoin. Solana is at 120. It's good to see it slowly rising back up again. Although we did have similar deal. Everything is doing the same. Price decay, potential golden cross, right? Still got about 3% to go for Solana. Ethereum, it's almost 0% as well. Seems like it didn't even have a cross to the top side. Like in this section right over here, Bitcoin did have a small golden cross, but then it immediately became a death cross once again. I know I'm talking about this a lot, but it's necessary, right? To identify the trends of the market, meaning that it didn't have enough strength to continue forward toward the upside. For Bitcoin's case, I'm talking, right? We did break out of this downtrend, but it was very short-lived. That's why I drew another one down over here. And it's probably going to be the likely scenario for the rest of this month. Although there are fears that we will be getting a crash by Monday, which is, formerly known as Black Monday. It's kind of like Black Friday, but the opposite, right? Or maybe it's the same. I don't know. Black Friday, everything's price is supposed to drop, but that's supposed to be a good thing because you get to buy things for cheaper. This case is called a Black Monday, where it's a stock market, really, that will be crashing. We had something similar in 1980 something, and I have more news on that, so we'll get into the specifics in just a moment. But people are expecting the stock market to have a large drop. So, I mean, I'm hoping this doesn't impact Bitcoin, but if it does, it might impact it slightly, based off of M2 projections and everything else. I'll get into that in just a moment, like I said. For now, we are maintaining two solid uptrends. First one should not allow us to drop less than 80,000. Right? The longer term one. And the second one should keep us above 81,000, 82,000, right? Hoping we don't see a drop less than 82. If you do see a drop less than 82, that is potentially a good buy signal if you're expecting to hold for long term. I don't think we're dropping less than 80,000 this month. I would completely take that out of the play zone. Let's move on to other tokens. XRP is up 0.89%. It just formed it. Golden cross right over here. So potential opportunities to search for long positions in XRP. That's probably solid. $2.15. SUI is $2.20. Moves a lot faster than XRP, by the way. I would prefer SUI in every case. SUI can reach a high of $5. Imagine that. Would you rather hold SUI or XRP? I would absolutely rather hold SUI. We are maintaining this uptrend still, so that's very solid. It should keep us above 215. We're not forming any change in the trends, however, in the 1 hour chart with the EMAs, we still have a very large downtrend, so nothing's confirmed there yet. Similar to the price action of Ethereum, we do need Ethereum to start making some moves, right? Seems like it is on the way up currently. 1,811 for Ethereum. Litecoin is $82.82. Similar deal as well. Not much happened over here, though. In the past week, it did not have much volatility, Litecoin, but it did maintain this support zone between 79 and 81. $80 was the main area that I was always mentioning that was the most important support. It was the lowest point we reached on February 2nd, so it's important we maintain at least that level. If we do see a drop, though, for Bitcoin, it could be devastating for something like Litecoin. Other coins have already recovered at least quite a bit, so their drops wouldn't be as significant. Although they have just been slowly decaying, just waiting to see what Ethereum does. But at least Ethereum has not dropped less than 1,700, right? I did have to micro adjust this level over here, 1,748. Great buying opportunity, in my opinion. I think a breakout must be imminent. It's like the technical indicators for me are showing that we do have to break the downtrends at least in this month. And that could actually happen. That can happen. I'm not going to discard the possibility at all. It can still happen. Cardano is similar deal. Well, I really don't. I'm kind of lost a bit with Cardano, honestly. But it's oscillating between 60 and 70 cents around that zone. At least it has been in the past week. Not too much crazy volatility. It's mainly had its technical analysis price action a little bit messed up because of its massive rise of 70% to that day where the crypto, what do you call it? Crypto Strategic Reserve, that's what he called it. That was announced by Trump on a Truth Social post over the weekend, by the way. Made the prices pump like that. But ultimately nothing came of it, so everything just went back to where it belonged, and we're just waiting now for more fundamentals. Currently, the only fundamentals we do have is, well, a lot of good news that seems to be overshadowed by tariffs. That's the real news that's just going around and scaring people all the time. I wouldn't put it past them, but like, I think it's a bit of an over-exaggeration at this point, this whole tariff reaction of everybody. But at least, you know, Bitcoin has been holding very strong still, especially compared to things like the stock market. I'll be getting into that just right now, actually. We'll get into it. A couple of smart money plays that I'll go over first. February 20. Bradley says Blake. What's Blake? Who's Blake? I don't know Blake. February 20, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon sold $234 million worth of his own stock. I remember covering this news as well. February 22nd, Warren Buffett also disclosed he had $334 billion in cash. That was from way before. That was like back in November as well. I remember he was selling his Bank of America stock, his Apple stock. He bought Domino's Pizza, Occidental Petroleum back then. Recently, he bought some other, I don't know, some other companies. Stellantis, I think, was one. Or Stella, I don't remember. And some relatively safe companies is what he was buying. And he played it smart. He bought companies that would not be affected by tariffs. 30 days later, NASDAQ crashes 24%. How do they know? Well, they study the market. They've been in the game for a very long time, so they already know. Jamie Dimon. Is it Diamond or Demon? I'm going to Google Translate this. Where is my Google Translate? You know what? English. How do you pronounce? Diamond. Okay. Jamie Dimon's purchases and sales of JP Morgan stock have been widely watched over the years. They're also regarded generally as a leading indicator for the broader market. Since he sold, it has fallen over 25% in the sharpest drop since 2022. How did he know yet again? This marks the second major diamond pivot of the 2020s. Seems like this guy's pretty good at analyzing the market as well. I mean, he has though. Both of these guys, Warren Buffett and Jamie Dimon, have spoken out against Bitcoin. They said they would never buy Bitcoin, but I think they secretly do. Maybe, I don't know. Like, how can Warren Buffett dismiss Bitcoin? I know he's been skeptical of it all the time and says, even if all the Bitcoin in the world costs $25, he said he still wouldn't buy it. I don't know. He thinks it's garbage. And so does Jamie Dimon. But JP Morgan, though, the bank itself is acquiring Bitcoin. So it's like, what do you mean? Where do your interests really lie is the question, right? Berkshire Hathaway, which is from Warren Buffett. Trending Diddy. I'll check it, sure, after this. Between Q1 and Q4 2024, cash balance rose. Warren Buffett was asked why he decided to build such a large cash balance. He says, often nothing looks compelling. Very infrequently, we find ourselves knee-deep in opportunities, saying that most stocks appear to be overvalued, which I agree with. I will agree the fact that stocks were overvalued for such a long time during Biden administration. We were hitting all-time highs, even though the economy was horrible, right? Every Mag 7 stock is now down at least 25% from its all-time high, including Nvidia. I bought the dip on Nvidia. I regret my decision, to say the least. I don't know. We'll see. Give it time. Warren Buffett actually saw a net increase in net worth year to date. Yeah, of course. And while the market has collapsed, Berkshire Hathaway is still going up. That's the stock from the index owned by Warren Buffett. It's cost thousands of dollars. And he's following what his quote is, right? He mentioned the quote, and I read this in his book. You need to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Now that everybody is fearful, he is being greedy, and he's got all this cash. He's got $300 billion. Obviously, he's going to buy the dip, right? And he sold when everybody was buying at all-time high levels. So that's the smart way to do it. Be like this man. Be patient. The time will come. Of course, opportunities will always come. Yeah, I bought the dip and it kept dipping. Indeed. Everything is like at very low levels, yearly lows, quarterly lows, however you want to see it. And lastly, the divergence in share price performance of Berkshire Hathaway versus the S&P 500 is telling. During times of uncertainty, the best investors are able to capitalize. So you should also use volatility to your advantage. All right, let's check out what Diddy trending news is. Hollywood actor Terrence Howard revealed to PPD that every celebrity that attended Diddy's parties got effed and lost their man card. All right, cool. Hollywood survivor Terrence Howard. Oh, I've heard of this guy. This guy, he's got a lot of crazy ideologies. I saw it on the Joe Rogan podcast once. Is that all? Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, it just has to do with Terrence Howard calling him out. I mean, yeah, sure. This is old news. We already know what goes down at the Diddy parties. So yeah, there you go. This is the big, what everybody's talking about at the current moment. Jim Cramer. We all love Jim Cramer. We love the inverse Cramer meme. Everything that he says, the opposite happens. That's the meme. So he's a CNBC analyst. I think it's CNBC. Some news reporter, analyst for the stock market. He has his own little segment on the show. He says that a Black Monday stock market crash, similar to October 1987, is not off the table yet. He's thinking that we're going to see another Black Monday event. So this is what I was referring to earlier in the stream. 1987 October on a Monday, stocks, crypto didn't exist, but stock market crashed like 20-something%. He mentioned this in a tweet. It's tough to build a new, weaker world order on the fly. Frantically trying to do it, but don't see anything yet that takes the October 87 scenario off the table yet. Nice grammar. Those who bottom fish are sleeping with the fishes so far. Indeed, I am as well. Yeah. Now, like I said, the big meme, of course, is whatever this guy says, the opposite happens. Meaning that he's predicting a 20% crash. That means we should not panic. So black just means it's gonna drop. Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what it means. Economist Drew Kramer predicts a stock market crash similar to 1987's Black Monday. Since he's the one who made this prediction, we're all just laughing this off and saying, he's, inverse Kramer again. It's just gonna not happen. But people are, seeing maybe he's right. Maybe this one time. Maybe, right? This is what happened in 1987. We had a drop right before the weekend, similar to what we're seeing right now. And then the Monday after, we opened with a gap that was lower and dropped even lower, another 20%. I think this was in one day or something. The bears are getting louder. And another thing that points to a potential drop is gap fills, right? Now, gaps don't always fill, right? But sometimes they do. And if it does, if we do drop, we're likely going to see a drop as far low as this gap that we had over here in November 2023. And that's looking like a very large drop. Everything is kind of pointing towards we're going to see a big drop on Monday. What's going to happen Monday? I don't know. Why would the stock market crash on Monday? I mean, I think the worst has already passed, right? We already saw China's response for the tariffs, which seemed to be the hardest thing. That's why we had the current crash that we're seeing. But why drop more? What's going to happen on Monday? We don't know yet. I don't have any news yet. The only thing I could really think of is maybe counter the counter tariffs to China, right? Like, since China already retaliated with a second wave of tariffs toward the United States, maybe the United States responds a third or fourth time, I've lost count at this point, by increasing the tariffs. That could be the case. Or United States going to war with Iran is what I heard a lot about. I saw some news about them bombing some Yemen officials, claiming that, oh, you guys are bombing our warships. Well, not anymore. They showed airstrike footage of that. So, I mean, maybe that could be the case. War with Iran. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. But what if it's not that? What if, thanks to inverse Kramer, it's what we use with the, what do you call this? Like the market sentiment chart, whatever it's called. This is usually the bear trap, right? Everybody thinks everything is just going to start dropping, but we actually start rallying from there like crazy. That could be the case as well. Maybe we see just a quick, rapid recovery, and that's something that I've mentioned as well. I think we're going to see a crash similar to COVID, thanks to this, but the recovery should be similar to COVID as well. It's going to be a very quick, easy recovery. I'm hoping so. If we do get a drop, it's going to be likely like a V-shaped recovery is what they call it. The other option would be a crash as great as the 2008 stock market crash, which took a very long time to recover. I don't think that's going to be the case, but who knows, right? I'm thinking it's just going to be a V-shaped recovery. Whether that be here, whether that be another large drop, that would depend. And I don't think Trump minds if we have another large drop, because he would like the stock market to crash another 20%. And I explained it in a video yesterday, but here's basically a TLDR of why Trump is, I guess, okay with the stock market crashing. When the stocks drop, investors have to move money to safer assets such as US bonds. US bonds are a lower risk, low reward, right? It has nothing to do with the stock market. Or maybe it does. I don't think it does though. When people buy bonds, that pushes the Fed to cut the interest rates to stabilize the economy, right? Otherwise, they're going to be paying, too much interest as well to other people. They have to cut their interest rates to be able to pay all those people. Lower rates will help Trump refinance the US debt at cheaper rates, right? He's going to have less interest to have to pay if he's asking for money, like money lending. And it also makes everything else cheaper at the same time. Trump uses the tariffs to pressure companies to build in the US, right? The companies will be moving in. If they build here, they will avoid tariffs. Other countries will respond with their own tariffs. That would force also US farmers to sell more food locally, since It would cost more to export it to other parts of the world because of their counter tariffs. You could just sell your products, your groceries, cheaper in the United States. Well, not cheaper. Yeah, cheaper. Sell it cheaper. It makes everything cheaper because there's more supply, right? That will be staying here, won't be going out. 94% of stocks are owned by just 8% of Americans, which is just the rich people, meaning that you and I are not a drop in the bucket here. Trump keeps switching up the tariffs, so, you know, one day he will offer a 25% tariff on Mexico, the next day nothing, which is causing confusion in the market and pushing money into bonds. Maybe this is his master plan all along, just doing all of this on purpose, right? The stock market drop like that will hurt the rich people, but it will lower the prices to help everyday people, and it will help retail investors have the opportunity of our lifetime to get stocks at a bargain, good companies for very cheap. We can enter that and, you know, investing long term, it will help make all of us richer. I don't know if that's copium, but I kind of agree with it. I think that might be the case, and I'm hoping it is. But I also don't want to see the stock markets drop anymore. I'm like, okay, this is as low as we should go, I'm hoping. Currently, this is a divergence between Bitcoin and the S&P 500. This is likely taken from that M2 money chart that I've been showing. You'll notice that, like, recently, Bitcoin has been following 1-to-1 almost what the S&P 500 stock index does. But it's currently decoupling. We're noticing the S&P 500 having a larger drop compared to Bitcoin because, you know, yesterday, for example, Bitcoin stayed around this zone and didn't drop along with the rest of the US stock market, right? It actually did its own thing for once. So that's giving us a glimmer of hope, all of us in crypto, for example. And here's a broader explanation about the M2 money supply versus Bitcoin and the S&P 500 stock. So that's what we currently saw over here. The yellow line is what we should be paying attention to of projections of what's coming out in the future. Why? Because this is the M2 money supply offset by 108 days. We do see that the M2 money supply has one more drop. April 6. Or it could be April 7. I don't know. The offset doesn't have to be exact, but it's going to give you a general idea, right? It could have one more drop. One more. And that can happen on, it says April 6, but it could be April 7, which is a Monday. Maybe we do see a drop on Monday. I don't know. Right? Or maybe the drop that we're expecting to see was the drop that just happened. I mean, just look at the blue line, the S&P 500. I think you get the point, right? However, from there, we don't see M2 money supply drop any more than that. Right? Hey, if Bitcoin follows, we could see a drop on Bitcoin. Sure, you know what? I'll accept it. If we do see a drop on Bitcoin, I'll know that's my last chance. It's absolutely going to be the last chance. Where? No less than 80,000. If it's less than 80,000, I'll have to regather my thoughts a little bit before I make another decision. But from here, I'm decided. If we break this uptrend, so be it. As long as we keep this one, I'm all for it. Because I know by May, you see what's going to happen by May. Right? So that's the plan, right? We'll see what happens Monday. I don't even know what. Let me check the economic calendar. Maybe there is some crazy stuff happening Monday that I'm just completely ignoring. No, literally nothing. Nothing is happening on Monday. I don't get it. I don't know. Some crazy announcement. Who knows? We'll see. And if it's nothing, then inverse Kramer works once again, and I'll still buy because I know we're not going down again. Or maybe we will. I don't even know anymore. But just be careful. Monday could be a drop. What is that penguin emoji? That's funny. Anyway, here's Wolf Financial. Very good analysis about how tariffs will have a zero long-term impact on the stock market. Controversial take. If you're scared of tariffs, read along with me. Basic math. In a healthy economy, tariffs should have a long-term impact on the stock market. But we don't live in a healthy economy. We live in a currency debasing shit show. regardless of what any politician does to the stock market, the Federal Reserve can always add digits on a computer screen and your stocks will skyrocket. They can always print money. Inflation. That's exactly what they will be doing soon. Not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to. Tariffs will likely bring inflation, is what most people think. Here's the situation. So the US has $36.6 trillion in debt, right? We know this. $9.2 trillion of that 36 trillion needs to either be refinanced or paid this year. So we will examine both options and see how all roads would lead to a higher stock market prices, right? First option, the $9.2 trillion is paid off. There's only a handful of ways to make that happen. The tax citizens will pay it off, or you cut your government spending, reallocate funds, or you would print money, which is quantitative easing. And why printing money is the only logical choice of the three. Why? The government collected $5 trillion in taxes last year alone, which means that we're still $4 trillion short. And we always hear Trump saying, your guys are going to have the biggest tax cuts in history ever. You will have zero income taxes possibly, right? Defunding the IRS. So raising taxes to collect $4 trillion more, that doesn't make sense. He would be going against his word there. So paying $9.2 trillion with taxes alone, that is off the table. Next, government can cut spending elsewhere and reallocate funds, right? That would be things like military expenses, federal programs, but that wouldn't work either. We only spend $900 billion on military and $1.4 trillion on Social Security. Medicaid and other health insurance programs is $1.6 trillion. Even if you tally up all those government expenditures, it still won't be enough to pay off the debt if you reallocate those funds. So finally, the only possible choice is the Federal Reserve performing quantitative easing, printing money, right? It's a fancy pants way of saying that they'll print money out of thin air. This money will be used to purchase bonds from the US Treasury that would directly inject cash in the financial system. If the Fed creates $9.2 trillion, it's practically impossible for stocks not to rise, right? So what will happen if the Fed performs quantitative easing? The other option is refinancing the debt at new interest rates, basically kicking the can down the road is what they say. The problem with refinancing at new rates is that interest rates are relatively high right now, and the US is already paying $1.2 trillion every year in interest. Send $2 billion to Israel? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They stopped US aid. I don't know. I'm hoping that they stop sending money to everyone, like even Ukraine, Israel, whatever. Put America first, and, well, I didn't click that. And yeah, right? The Fed's option are the following. No, I read that. So, cutting rates means more lending will occur. It's the only solution, right? They have $1.2 trillion in annual interest. If we refinance 9.2 at current rates, the $1.2 trillion in yearly interest would soar, which is not good. We want that number to decrease. So if you cut rates, that's the best solution. Ideally, is what's going to happen. And if you print $9.2 trillion, then stocks would go parabolic, right? M2 money supply. You get the point. There you have it. Stocks will rise regardless of Trump's tariffs. All roads lead to the money printer. If you're wondering when a genuine bear market could take place, the most likely answer is 2026. I would agree with that. Maybe even more. I would push it to like 2027. We've been living in a global economy with a 4-year debt cycles. The year of quantitative tightening and rate hikes worldwide is most likely 2026. Until then, enjoy this monumental buying opportunity. There you go. Great. We will see what happens. Ethereum has 90% of real-world assets total value logged. It's now surpassed $10 billion. Ethereum is not dead, by the way. We need it to come back. When it does, alt season will be back. First, Bitcoin needs to rise. There you go. Canada news for my fellow Canadians. Polymarket. I don't even know if we could trust Polymarket anymore. Or maybe these numbers are inflated. I don't know what's going on. They're saying that Mark Carney has a 71% chance to win the election and Pierre Poilievre at 30%. That's not good. Also, the numbers don't make sense. The math isn't mathing. if you add 71 plus 30, that's 101. And then if you add Christopher Freeland and Jagmeet Singh over here, 1%, 1%, that's 103%. It doesn't make sense. So, you know, maybe this is all a lie, a big lie in poly market. I don't know if I trust them anymore. Also, just compare the two economies between America and Canada. The tariffs thing will work out for America and it'll make it great again. There you go. Canada lost 33,000 jobs. America made 228,000 jobs. Something that I also was surprised about on our unemployment data that we got yesterday, non-farm payroll data. And yeah, my last bit of news is to share this. In 2023, somebody staked 5 cents of Solana for the next 3,000 years. So Solana, 5 cents of Solana, worth in Solana, sorry. It's locked up for 3,000 years. You can't take this money out. So it'll be unlocked in the year 5,138. Do we even think we'll even exist by then? I don't think so. Well, there you go. It's only 5 cents anyway. I'm pretty sure that person doesn't care. I think we're gonna break out. We get a golden cross. This is reaching 84,500. Can that happen tonight? I've been proven wrong a couple times with overnight volatility being pretty low. Apparently there is overnight volatility, so yeah. I mean, I agree with it. I'm pretty sure Europe market opens at like 2 a.m. or something. What time does EU stock market open? From 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. GMT, Monday to Friday. Okay, what is in EST? Amster. Okay, what? It's 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Okay, fine. 8 a.m. UK time to EST. 8 a.m. UK time to EST. That's 3 a.m. Sunday. Yeah, okay. So that's places where we could see some volatility as well. Although tomorrow is Sunday, right? Yeah, Europe will be waking up in Sunday. So I don't think much is going to happen tonight. Maybe. Like I said, this downtrend, it's very, very short term. We'll see. But the idea is we're likely going to get this little golden cross over here. And if we do, that'll be pretty good for the market. Well, not for the market, for Bitcoin. It would still be good for the market. We only have one other coin that did have that golden cross, and that's XRP, right over here. So if you want to try to get in early, you could try XRP. Although I'd wait for a downswing first. Other coins are still very far from getting their golden cross. So XRP is there first. Bitcoin is likely next if you want to take advantage of that momentum. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow. And be prepared for Monday. Whatever happens Monday, do not panic. And buy if you really can. It seems like Monday is going to be a bottom, if that is the case. Oh yeah, you sent me Flint and Meal, Bradley. I just saw that. I forgot about Flint and Meal. Alright. There we go. Yeah, 30-minute stream. I'm keeping these short. Okay, bye-bye. I didn't fall off. You fell off. Bye.